So first, what we want to do is to get into Scratch. So you just want to go up to whatever browser you have and you go to the search bar and just search up Scratch. Just search that up, and the first link that says Scratch MIT, just click on that. Then it'll bring you up to this page, and it might ask you to log in to give you a profile. For me, I already have one right here. You can view it there. And then here you can play games that other people have made. But right now we're going to learn about Scratch. So we can press Create, which gives us a new project. So Scratch is an easier alternative and makes coding much easier for anyone. So our main thing here, our main control panel is here, and what's going to happen is going to happen on this right side of the screen. So first, this cat right here, it comes with every Scratch project when you load in, and it's called a sprite. A sprite is basically a character or a costume. Now here you can see we can rename it to something like maybe cat, and then it'll update here. We can change its position, X 100, maybe Y 100, and then you can change that. You can change if it shows or not, and you can change the size. Let's say you want to make it smaller, maybe 10 instead of 100. That's much smaller. Or, yeah, 100. And then you can also change the direction, which is pretty straightforward. Just drag the bar, which is pretty exponential itself. And you can just also move it around with your mouse in case you want to start it, and then it'll tell you. So here it has the coordinates, so the X and the Y. Say if I move it here, then the X and the Y change. I'm just gonna put it here. So now talking about the main control panel. So this is where you drag and drop blocks. So let's say you want to take this block. So you can hold it down and drag it into this white space, this workstation, and let go. So now you've placed your first block. So the main thing is, the main category is events. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 main categories. Events is the main one. So now you can see that this one is rounded and it doesn't have a top, whereas these ones are not rounded, and you can stack blocks and put stuff on top of them. But whereas for this, you can't place anything on top, it just won't work. So this is our main event, when green flag clicked. So that means when this green flag, this one, when the green flag is clicked, whatever is under this and what you have coded will happen to whatever you've put, say for the sprite. So when green flag clicked, and we can go to a motion, which will make it move 10 steps. So now when we click our green flag, our sprite should move 10 steps. Yeah, you see, he moved 10 steps. And then we can maybe just by clicking on it, we can change it to 100 or whatever you want. And then we just click the green flag, and then he moves further. So that's how the green flag clicked. Anything, maybe turn 15 degrees, he turns. Green flag click is like your main block that you need to use, or that people usually use to start most projects. So now let's finish the rest of the events panel. So then we also have when space key pressed. So then we can say the same thing, move 10 steps. So when I click the space key, he moves 10 steps, right? And then we can also change that key to something maybe like the up arrow. When up arrow pressed, he'll move 10 steps. Or just any key, maybe E, let's say, he'll move 10 steps. So that you can customize accordingly. Then when this sprite clicked. So when you click on the sprite, this one, which is our sprite right now, when we click it with our mouse, he'll move 10 steps. You see? And then again we can change that accordingly. So, and then when backdrop switches is slightly more advanced, which we'll come back to later, and all of these are advanced, which I'll be explaining in the coming episodes. So now let's move on to control. So now this is something that some people might find hard. So first let's go back to events and get our when green flag click. So these three are the main starters for any simple code that you would like to write. So now you can also scroll down, or you can just click on your control panel. So now wait 1 second. So I think that's pretty straightforward. What it will do is once you click the green flag, it'll wait 1 second and then it'll move 10 steps. So let's say I click it, it'll wait 1 second and then it'll move. Okay, I click it, it'll wait and then move. Click, wait and move. So, and then you can also change that to, let's say, maybe 3 seconds. So it's clicked and then 1, 2, 3 and then it should move, right? So I think that's pretty straightforward. Then it comes for these things called loops and conditions. This one, repeat, forever, if then else, and yeah, and so on, etc. So now let's start with forever. So forever is a loop which you can't place stuff under, so you can't connect these, whereas you can place it under this. So forever, we can drag it right here. So this means this is a loop, which means anything that you put inside the loop, it'll happen accordingly. So forever means it'll keep moving 10 steps when the green flag is clicked. So it'll keep moving. You can just drag it, it'll keep moving. So let's drag it here. So forever, which means it'll keep running forever, he'll move 10 steps, right? So that's one of the loops. Then you also have repeat. So this is a more controllable version of the forever. So you can say repeat 10 times. So he'll move 10 steps 10 times. We can decrease it like by just pressing on it, and let's say repeat 2 times. So repeat 2 times, move 10 steps. So that means he should move 20 steps. So that's slightly more. Maybe we can say 100 steps. And that's a big jump. And then maybe we can say repeat 3 times. Yeah. So repeat is, just think of it as a more controllable option than the forever loop. This is also a loop. Then we come to something called a condition, which is this if then and if then else. So if something happens, then this happens. So think of it like this. If a car senses a wall, let's say it's a car with autopilot. If the car senses the wall, it should stop, right? So now let's say if, and then you put whatever you want. If this happens, then this happens. So let's say if, let's go to sensing. If key space pressed. Okay. So if our space key is pressed, and again that's controllable completely to whatever key you want, when the space key is pressed, then this will happen. So let's say if our space key is pressed, then we move, the sprite moves 100 steps. So now let's press our space key. Oh, sorry. When green flag clicked, and then if key space pressed, then move 100 steps. Forever. Alright, so anything like in if condition, it always needs to be in a forever. Otherwise, let's say here, if when green flag clicked, when green flag clicked, if key space pressed, that won't work. And also when you put the forever, you'll see that there'll be a slight yellow outline. You see that one? Which means the code is going to work. We press our space key and then it moves forward 100 steps. So that's the same thing. And then I also forgot to mention, to stop your code, you press this little stop sign. So that's if. I think that's also pretty straightforward. So then if, now we come to if then else. So this is more or less the same thing. So let's say if key space pressed, if our space key is pressed, then move 100 steps. Else, which means if the space key is not pressed, then move 10 steps. So when we put this into our forever loop, if our space key is pressed, then move 100 steps forward. If the space key is not pressed, then move only 10 steps forward. So then we put that inside. So it's like, if this happens, then do this, else do this, if the condition is not met, right? And since it's a forever, it'll keep going. So now, but then let's say I click the green flag and then I click the space key, then it'll move 100 steps. You see it right there. So then if we remove the forever, this is only for if then else, then it'll move 10 steps. Because else, if the space key is not pressed, but now you see it won't work since the key space pressed, this if has to be inside a condition for this to work. So now that's about the conditions, and that's why you see the here you can stack blocks beneath it. So I can put another if under that, but then whereas for the forever, for our forever loop, you can't put anything under it because the same code will keep running and keep running. So that's about the loops. And then if we scroll a little down, then repeat until I'll include in the next video, stop all, and then all the 3 of these blocks. So now let's move to the simplest of them all, motion. So motion is pretty straightforward, I mean. So move 10 steps. So when the green flag is clicked, I've already explained this, it'll move 10 steps, right? That's that. Turn 15 degrees, the same thing. This is clockwise and this is just anti-clockwise. Again, you can just change it to maybe 50 degrees or whatever you want. So that's turn. Go to random position would also mean when the green flag is clicked, it would move to a random position. And this comes in a lot of help when you're developing games, which I'll also be explaining in the next few videos. So go to random position, then go to X and Y. So this is the coordinates of where your sprite is going to go. So here it says -121 and 19, which is where my sprite is right now, the coordinates. And this keeps updating. So let's say I move it here. Then this will update and then it'll say 64 to 58. And then say we wanted to move to 90 and 20. And then I click the green flag, it'll move to those coordinates. So that is to go to some coordinates. Then we have glide 1 second. This all you can use in games, which I'll be also explaining in the next video. Point in direction 90 is straightforward. We can just change, so it'll point in that direction. So we say it like this, then it'll turn in that direction. So point meaning the front of it should go to that angle. So that's point in direction. Then point towards mouse pointer would mean that it would wherever my mouse is. So say my mouse is here, it'll just spin there. Okay, so let's set it back to about 0, and then my mouse is here, so then it knows where my mouse is and it'll face in that direction. And then again, yeah. Also for the go to random position, you can also turn that into a go towards mouse pointer. So then you can do mouse pointer. Again, we just set it back to normal. So go to mouse pointer, so then it'll go to my mouse pointer instead of just turning and pointing towards it. Then you can change the X, which is the X coordinate, and you can set the X to the coordinate that you want it to go. Change Y to that and then set Y, which is pretty self-explanatory, but I'll go more into depth into that in the next one. And then these also. So now coming to looks, which is going to be our last main section for today's video. So this is our look section, and you can see that all of these are color coordinated. So blue is motion, it just makes it easier to remember. Yellow and then a darker yellow, since they're about the same, events and control. So now we go to looks. We can make it say, let's just delete this, say hello for 2 seconds, which will make like a funny speech bubble pop up. So hello. So, and then again we can control that by saying it, maybe say hello for 5 seconds instead of 2. So that is one. Then just say hello would just mean say hello, but that's less programmable. So it'll just say, in case you wanted to say it for longer or maybe shorter or just more controllably, then you would opt for say hello for 5 seconds. And then think, which would just pop up a different speech bubble. So that's the easy part. So then switch costume to costume 2, next costume, switch backdrop, next backdrop. All of that is in this section, costumes, which I'll be coming to. And then there's also change color, all of this, which is about the costume. So yeah, that's it for this week's video. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next video about backdrops and costumes.